Hello, and welcome to another issue of the Blue Bulletin. We've seen big news recently with the conflict between Hawk and Void, and a groundswell of peace among other factions in New Eden, with the end of the SHH vs. GenFed war and the OG vs. RM war ending. This time, we will be diving into the Honk and Void situation, discussing the no contract on F2, and looking at the OG vs. RM war. If you enjoyed this episode and want more content like this, please like and subscribe. Let's get started with the conflict between Hawk and Void. Full disclosure, I am an SHH member and I'm currently blue to Honk. The timeline given has been approved by Airbus of Honk and Bali, the PR director of Void. To start, let's make it clear that both sides agree that this is not a war, it is just content. So far, SHH has not gotten involved either. This all started in early January when Honk discovered that Void still had 3 intumescent belts in their space, and they started planning out action against Void. On January 8th, the first move was made, and they took a minor scepter fleet into ZBD, TAC HT, and did some mining. The Void diplomacy team insinuated that they would get Honk to cease this activity via SHH diplomacy. The day after, on January 9th, ZRQ brings a Balgorn and Procurer fleet and kills the ZDB belt. Next, Honk starts working on the next belt in G063. It has nearly 24/7 guards, so they upgraded their SRP from miner scepters to suicide retrievers. Eventually, on the 18th, Void Diplo, who Honk had been ignoring, starts attempting to resolve the matter peacefully. On January 23rd, Baja of Honk kills the G0 belt by landing on their Rupture Hictor bubble with a Procure, cloaking, and slow boating to the belt while dodging guards, and then getting a long cycle of miners off. They sacrificed about 20 suicide retrievers and a few procurers, as well as a bunch of miner scepters to get the belt. Later that day, Void sent their first fleet into Syndicate. On the 25th of January, Void self-killed the final belt in J7. As of the time of writing, on February 13th, Airbus has confirmed that Void has destroyed approximately 18 posses. Void has no plans to attack Honk's citadels at this time. Both sides just view this as some extra content for their pilots. In terms of damage by Honk to Void, I can confirm that from January 8th to February 13th, Honk did 236 billion in damage to Void. Some have questioned how Honk can have a private war without SHH involvement. There is much confusion as to Honk's relationship with SHH, and a precise answer seems impossible to obtain. When asked if Honk is technically part of the Federation, the response was that it is complicated, and that the answer can be essentially summed up by calling Honk a special member. What does this mean? No one knows. One thing of note is that Void is a member of a loose defensive coalition called Pact. This includes the OG Empire, SCG, and Red Machine as well. Inevra of OG has said there are currently no plans for Pact to assist. They will defend their allies, but not attack Honk. If SHH were to get involved, however, Pact would likely also get involved. At this point, the Silent Federation has no plans for this to happen, with the real Beck saying, the Silent Federation doesn't plan on it being necessary to get involved in the Honk vs. Void war. We will all have to monitor the situation to see if it escalates. Next, let's dive into the no contract on F2. My sources on this topic are Rep, a no please stop fleet commander, Chased Flame, and F2 leadership. For those that don't know, F2 is an alliance living in the eastern part of New Eden. F2 includes leftovers from ACR. It primarily includes Dune, as well as some beginner corps. We have little information on the contract against them, because the contractors have remained anonymous. Tahini said that they are being paid approximately 100 billion ISK. They are getting paid per kill, as well as for structure and capital kills. So far, only one citadel has been destroyed, as at the time of writing, but many more may fall, as there are hull timers right now. No says that their pilots are having a blast and that their kill board is thick. They have done 692 billion in kills in the regions of Tenerife, Omsk, and Detroit in the past week, from February 7th to the 14th, and have done 166.8 billion in damages to their specific corp targets since February 2nd. When asked what the result of this contract has been on F2, Chased Flame said that it is resulting in extermination. They also said that they find it disingenuous and distasteful to pick on an alliance full of beginner players. They have said most of their players that are in beginner corps are in battle cruisers they can barely afford to fit, and that No is becoming a good recruiter for Genesis, as they have had people leave to rent their extermination and quitting the game. Their precise statement can be seen here on screen. One thing to note is that No just shoots who they are paid to, and this extermination effort is not really on them, as they go where the ISK is, as well as the fact that many of these kills have been on battleships, and that the burden has been on mainly the experienced players. The vast majority of kills have been on Dune, with 55% of the on-target kills being on them. They are the more advanced corp, with the more experienced players, and they have been attempting to defend their allies to the best of their ability. It is unclear to me, PM Blue speaking here, why such a small alliance has what is clearly a large contract against them, and perhaps we will find out if these anonymous contractors come forward. Now, it's time for the promised report on the OG versus Red Machine war. This whole saga has gone on for a long time and involves many major players. The timeline I'm about to provide has been approved by Inevra of OG, Xenon, who is part of Catch-22 leadership, Iceberg of RM, Yale 15 of AAA, and Sinbad the Sailor of King. Late in October, FRA, an alliance in Catch-22, dropped a citadel in space that SCG claimed to be theirs. SCG was met with an offense of Panjan 22 forces. Pact, which as previously mentioned SCG is a part of, got involved diplomatically. They were able to settle issues with Genesis and Pantheon, explaining it off as an invasion. They removed their support from Catch-22, and Pact issued a war declaration on Catch-22, presenting the following terms: a public apology plus 20 billion in reparations, or 200 billion in structure damages. Catch-22 refused these terms, and the war began. From October 15th to December 1st, Red Machine and the OG Empire did a total of 1 trillion in kills on everyone in New Eden, with about half of that being in Catch Inquirius, which is Catch-22's homeland. Catch-22 did 658 billion in the same time period, with 200 billion being to corpse on the list given to me by OG and RM. Nearly 3/4 of these kills were on OG alone. In early December, some corps broke off from FRA to form AAA, and they attacked Catch-22 structures. The war ended up ending early, with Pact calling it off. There were talks of OG and Catch-22 joining forces, as well as AAA and RM joining forces, but AAA and Catch-22 refused to blue one another. Diplomacy talks between OG and RM broke down on December 9th, and the conflict broke out between RIP and AAA. OG supported RIP, and RM supported AAA, and the proxy war began. OG offered to help Catch-22 in exchange for a merger with a trial period. Some parts of Catch-22 approved of this, and some didn't. Early January, the merger decision broke up RIP. 60% joined OG and moved to Wicked Creek, and 40% broke off and formed King and moved to Quirius. Grab followed along to Quirius. King representatives note that this was partially because while OG is great, they wanted to preserve the democratic culture that they had previously. OG has done 229 billion in damage to RM and AAA, with RM and AAA dealing 292 billion to OG. Finally, de-escalation talks started between OG and RM. OG was supposed to go blue with RM on February 1st, but their standings have been bugged since then. They can't add or remove any standings, and a ticket has been open to Netties for about 2 weeks now. OG will have an NIP with King, TM, and Grab in about a week. Thank you for watching. Next episode, I hope to discuss the GenFed versus SHH war in its totality. I am working with both sides to get complete corp lists so that we can have the most accurate data ever. Please remember to like and subscribe, as I've re-recorded this episode way too many times for you not to. Thank you.